So my name is Emily Sherwin, and I am a social media lead at Jisk.
Amazing. So let's go right back to the beginning. What does your educational journey look like?
I wanted to study photography and do art and things, and they did art at school, but they didn't do photography. So I went to college, I did art, I did photography, I did English literature and business studies, and then I decided to do an art foundation after my A levels, which I quickly realised that's what I needed to do if I wanted to study photography at a good art school university for my degree. So, yes, I did art foundation. That was probably the best year of my life. Had a great time. Yeah, then I went to Camberwell College of Art down in London. So again, that was a good 3 years of just doing whatever I wanted to do. So I graduated in 2013. Very long time ago now. Quite scary, feeling very old. Um, and yeah, and then I sort of was like, okay, now what? So I got a part-time job and I interned at a place called Camberwell Press, which is I don't know if it's still going or not actually, but it was a publishing house design studio, which was like sort of linked to the university. And it was run by ex-students and like some of the graphic design course directors. So I was their online editor, so I did stuff for their website and then sort of did their social media as well. And that was like a year-long part-time internship. So when my internship came to an end, that was a bit more like, oh, now I still don't know what I want to do, and I should probably get a proper job. And I was working part-time on the cheese counter at Waitrose. So I had started applying for a few jobs. I didn't really want to be a full-time photographer, mainly because I didn't want to put the work in to become freelance, and I didn't want to take photos of babies. So it's like, oh, I need something somewhere down the middle. I applied for a job and got an interview at Evans Cycles, for like a sort of content creator, like a editor, blog writer. I didn't get the job, but I was like, oh yeah, maybe I want to work in cycling. Like cycling has always been a big passion of mine. I've always cycled, like been going to watch Tour de France since I was little. My parents are really into it. So then I was like, okay, if I don't want to be a photographer, I'll try and work in sport. So then I found a small PR agency that specialised in cycling and endurance sport. Started interning there for a few months, basically being a general bugs buddy. Like it was PR intern. But then I also did a bit of social media there and they sort of dabbled in it for a few of their clients. And then they offered me a full time position as a PR and social assistant. So managed to, leave the hazy days of cheese and fish counters at Waitrose behind me. And yeah, started working full time at an agency. And that was a real sort of learn on the job. I had no experience really well, definitely not of PR, no experience of social apart from like, I mean, Instagram then this was like in 2015. So Instagram had been around for a few years, but not nowhere near as big as it is now. It's when you could still go viral very easily.
Back in the
Yeah,
good
back in the
days.
days, and that magic viral button was a thing. Yeah, and it was before GDPR and stuff, so it was really easy. So yeah, I started working there and then sort of quickly realized that PR wasn't for me. Yeah, so said to my director, I was like, I just want to do social. And he was like, great, okay. And so the social side of the business was growing. It was a small agency. I think there was only about 5 or 6 of us when I first joined. So it was a good time to kind of like dictate, like have a say in how we wanted things to run and what we could do for clients. So yeah, so I learnt on the job, learnt from my director who had looked after the social accounts before that, and yeah, did everything from community management, strategy, content creation, competitions, you name it. If it was social, I did it. Grew accounts from scratch and like looked after quite big clients in the cycling world. So it sort of came full circle, and Evans Cycles were became a client of ours. So now I was working with the people who'd interviewed me a few years previous. At times it was stressful. It was a small agency. I was in my early 20s, so I put all of myself into it, and probably too much of myself. And at points it felt like maybe I was close to burnout. I don't know. I feel like maybe that word is bandied around quite a lot, but yeah, it was rewarding and challenging at the same time. Yeah, so I was there for about 5, 6 years, and then was made redundant, which is the nature of being agency side. If one client goes, you know, margins are so small that if two big clients go, you lose half your staff. So, but then I found another agency, and this time it was a creative agency, so advertising. And yeah, so then luckily I'd gotten that job the end of 2019, so before everything went wrong in 2020. Worked for the agency for about 4 years until early 2023. And again, that was a lot of like learning on the job. It was a new environment. Hadn't worked in advertising before. Massive budgets compared to having a grand to put behind a Facebook post. I was sort of in the studio and with the creatives as well. So that spoke to my creative side. And then decided that, so this was still in London, when I stayed in London after university. And then I decided that London life wasn't for me anymore, and I wanted to move back to Manchester, back home. Started looking for a job that was either a bit more flexible or based in Manchester, and yeah, came across JISC. I was actually pointed to a job by my dad, who he's retired now. Shout out Dave Sherwin. But he worked for part of JISC, and I'd seen the job advertised, so sent it to me, and then got the job, social media. It was sort of a new role within the team. So and now I've been at JISC for coming up to 2 years.
Amazing.
Yeah, and
So JISC is more of an in-house position. So what would you say are the main differences between agency life, which you've spoken a bit about, and an in-house life, as it were?
it's completely different. It's nice not having to deal with demanding clients, should we say, who don't think you deserve a weekend. So it's a different pace of life. The agency side can be really fast paced in some ways, but very slow in other ways. For example, there was an audio trend a few years ago, the Louis Theroux rap.
My money don't
Yeah, my
jiggle
money don't
jiggle.
jiggle jiggle. And I wanted to jump on that trend as many other businesses, brands were doing. So I was like, right, okay, let's do it. Made something in about, I don't know, an hour. And then it took about 3 weeks for it to be signed off and posted. Maybe not 3 weeks, but it was a long time. It was over.
It was done. It was over.
So by the time it went out, we just looked a bit silly. There was a lot of bureaucracy, and especially the automotive firm I worked for, we had a UK client, but then sometimes things would have to go through legal. They would have to go to Europe, because the UK reported into Europe, and sometimes again that had to go into Korea, which is where they were based. So a very long chain of approval sometimes, and obviously time differences and things. So if you wanted to put something out quickly, it would have to be checked by lots of different people. You couldn't just put something out immediately. So the agency world and clients move very quickly, but then on the flip side, there's a lot of eyes and things are higher stakes, so you can't just turnaround times can be slower. So then being in-house, I do actually have onus of our social brand, our tone of voice, our presence, our strategy, which, when I'd been applying for jobs and interviewing at different agencies and things, that was always like, that was always a sell, like, you really get ownership of the brand, but ultimately you're working for the client, so you can have a say. you can shape it, but you don't get the final say. So yeah, so in-house it's really nice to actually be like, this is what I want to do, this is how I want it to look, this is what I want to say, and this is how I want to position Jisk, and yeah, and most of the time that comes to fruition. Jisk is quite a big company, so there is still like bureaucracy as well, but not as much, and like things, it's a different pace of life. So sometimes things can be a bit slower when you're not answering to clients. There's not usually that sense of like life and death urgency. And I'm very much enjoying that pace of life at the moment. But then again, like if I want to jump on a trend, if we've got something like an audio I want to use, or there's something current in the zeitgeist, I'm like, right, I can do that. That's relevant for us. I'll do it. Maybe I'll get it checked by like one other person from, just to like, especially if we're talking about like product or cybersecurity or something that I don't have a 100% understanding of. But most of the time, I can get stuff turned around very quickly, which is nice.
Yeah, nice. So, would you say that you have to be good at social media in your personal life in order to be able to make a career out of it?
No,
Okay.
this is something I find really frustrating sometimes because I've worked with clients before who've been a client at the agency, and they have then decided to take social in-house, which is fine, good. I think the day-to-day social running should be done in-house where possible. But they've bypassed it, sort of got rid of like a wealth of social expertise and resourcing to cut costs, which is fine. But then they've recruited people who've been big, big on social. Like they've included their handles in their CV, and in this particular instance, the new social media manager who got the job had, I don't know, like 15,000 Instagram followers, which was great, good for you. But then you could see the difference in the output after we stopped working with them. And I don't think you need to be a social media influencer to be a social media manager. If anything, I think the two don't really work that well together, especially if you're trying to grow your own brand, your personal brand. Is it at odds with what you're trying to do for a company? You don't need to have a massive personal following to know how algorithms work, to know how to write compelling copy or create a visual story.
So, what changes have you seen in the social landscape?
A lot. So when I said before about being able to go viral, when I first started in social, it was, yeah, real kind of a lawless land. But like there was no sort of GDPR restrictions. There was no real like governance on data, and it was easier to like reach new people, engage with people without needing to pay for it. Now to like, if you wanted to create a new Instagram account or a new TikTok or launch your brand on social, it's quite hard to just grow a following really quickly. Whereas when I started, you could just like follow people, do a bit of outreach, community management, and you could get build a community relatively quickly and cheaply. Now you need, which in some ways is better. Now you need a full like a real social first strategy, but it's a lot harder and it's a lot more time consuming. And you need to be willing to invest resource, both time and monetary, into building the brands and presence on social.
Hmm. And looking slightly to the future, well, the present really, AI. Ba, ba, ba. Is that going to steal everyone's jobs and ruin everything, or is it going to make your lives a billion times better? Or do you not
Um,
know?
I don't think it's going to steal everyone's jobs. because so we use AI a little bit, especially when I'm doing paid social campaigns. If we need to write a lot of copy in one go, if we need lots of different ad variations, copy variations, AI is really useful for telling me what I don't want to write. It will. It can give me a lot of different variations of ad copy, which is great. And then more often than not, I'll be like, no, that sounds rubbish. Let me change it. But I've got the bare bones there. So it's good to make things more efficient and quicker. And it means we can build campaigns easier. But there's still the need there for, creative thinking and people interaction.
Nice. So, what skills would you say you need to be a good social media manager?
A lot of job descriptions will tell you that you need to be a project manager, a planner, a paid social expert, a data scientist, a photographer, a videographer, an editor. I think that is a load of crap. It makes my blood boil when you see job descriptions like that and there's no salary on it at all, or it's 27 grand or something, and you're asking people to do about 17 different jobs. So that is, to a certain degree, that is the nature of it, and that's how I learned the ropes, by doing a bit of everything. But that was a very junior position, and it was in a small agency, so it was all hands to the deck. But I think there's most social media managers or account managers, depend if you're working in an agency or in-house, you'll either be the account manager or the creative. So organized is definitely one of the top things. Even if you're not really organized, I'm not really organized, but I can pretend I am. I can, when it matters, I will be organized. But you don't need to plan everything in minute detail. You still need to be reactive and flexible in social. But a creative mindset, I think, is very important. An analytical mind as well. I don't really like the reporting side of things. I'll look at data, and I'll look at content to see if it's performing well, and if things have landed well, or if we're not doing great, or we need to, put some more effort into it. But that's not what gets me out of bed in the morning. You don't need to be a jack of all trades. Obviously, it's great if you are, but you can specialize in like the creative side of things. So like being a good writer. Attention to detail actually is the one thing you do need as a social media manager, because I've had instances where I've put posts out on the wrong accounts and have had to delete it straight away. But you realize that mistake quite quickly.
You only do that once.
Yeah. So attention to detail, number one. But you can be really good at like account management, client management, organizing, reporting, and that's one avenue you can go down. You can be the sort of planning side of social media, or you can be more creative. You can be the doer.
And any advice for anyone looking to enter this industry?
I would just say go for it if you want to do it. If you're thinking about getting into it, just do it. It's not for everyone. It's not as glamorous as you think it is. Especially at the beginning, it can be long hours. But yeah, I would try it, see what you're good at, because it might be that you start off in social media, and if you're in an agency, you might be like, oh, actually, I like the client services side better. You go down that route, or no, I want to make TikToks, I want to edit videos, and you can be in the creative side of it. I've been doing social media now for longer than I care to admit, and no day is ever the same. Things are always changing. Don't think that Facebook is your friend. It's
Oh,
not. Facebook is not your friend, because as soon as you think you've cracked it, they change it. They put things in the wrong place. So things are always changing. It's frustrating but rewarding in equal measures. And I like the community side of things, and like talking to people online, and building up relationships and connecting with customers online. So I like that side of things. So it can be rewarding in a different sense of, your general like customer relationships.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Amazing. Is there anything else that you wanted to add at all?
I don't think you need a marketing degree to work in marketing. I think that's probably maybe controversial, but I don't have a marketing degree. I don't have any formal marketing qualifications. If you want to get into social media, especially and like content and things, you can have that creative mindset and you can come at it from a creative background or like media background rather than a traditional marketing background. And especially if you're willing to start in like a junior position and learn on the job, I think you can. It's a good place to start, and you don't need to. When I have been recruiting for like social media execs and junior roles in the past, I have not looked for people to have um, traditional marketing experience on CVs. If they've got a bit of, depending on what the role is, but if they've got a bit of hands-on experience, if they've like interned or they have done projects at university, um, and then they've got a creative background, I would much rather. I just tend to gravitate to that more towards someone who's got a PhD in emails.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
That's all right. Thank you for having me.